Hi, this is David White coming to you again from Austin, Texas, with the 23rd of our series that we call A Perfect Life. This is where we track in Matthew 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 Jesus' actions and his words in what we call the Sermon on the Mount. Tonight our scripture is from Matthew, the 5th chapter, verses 23 through 26. There are no special words to deal with in this scripture. What this scripture requires is for a person to possess self-honesty and humility, two virtues with which my younger son often points out I'm not overly endowed, and so far I haven't felt qualified to argue with him. We're going to take verses 23 and 24 first. These verses 23, 4, 5, and 6 deal with how we're to act when we're in the wrong. 23 and 24. This is how I want you to conduct yourself in these matters. If you enter your place of worship and about to make an offering, you suddenly remember a grudge a friend has against you, abandon your offering, leave immediately, go to this friend and make things right. Then and only then come back and work things out with God. This is not the only time that we're told that getting right with God involves getting right with our fellow human being. Now, in these verses 23 and 24, what he's talking about is the things we do, like high-hatting somebody, gossip about somebody, insult somebody. You know, the relatively mild things, certainly the non-legal things that we do, that we just need to straighten out. And we certainly don't want to go too long about it. I've mentioned here before, my daddy was one of the 3 or 4 finest men that I've ever met, and also quite intelligent. And as a young man, I got pretty rough with him sometime in my verbiage, and it was too late by the time I grew up enough to own it to him. And then also, it's an understatement to say that I wasn't a very good daddy to my older son, and that lasted and went untended too long, and I don't think he has any hard feelings toward me anymore, but I don't think he has any desire to have me in his life, and I can't say that I blame him. But this is the type thing that when we're guilty of, we need to make amends as soon as possible. Recognize and go to the offended party and make it right with them as best we can. Then verses 25 and 26. Or say you're out on the street and an old enemy accosts you. Don't lose a minute. Make the first move. Make things right with him. After all, if you leave the first move to him, knowing his track record, you're likely to end up in court, maybe even jail. If that happens, you won't get out without a stiff fine. Now, once again, we remind you that this is a situation where we're just wrong, and we need to make amends. Stealing from somebody, bearing false witness in court against them, physically hurting somebody. These are examples of what Jesus was talking about here. In the last 25 or so years, I have known of 3 people who, once they got on the spiritual path, volunteered and went to the authorities and admitted a crime that they had committed. I knew one of these guys a little bit personally. I didn't know the other 2. But without a deal with the authorities, they just threw themselves on the mercy of the court. The one that I knew spent a year or so in prison. And I asked him one time about that, and he said it's the best 2 years he ever spent because he came out clean. That cleanness inside that only self-honesty and humility and having no secrets can provide. This is about all I have on this topic. This is so easy to talk about, and yet for those of us who aren't overly endowed with humility and self-honesty, it is so hard to live. But I thank God that it's in the Sermon on the Mount. Until next time, we hope you have a good time, and we'll see you then. Good night.